Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. Today what we're going to be talking about is using motorcycles as kind of everyday transportation, because it's something that I've noticed you know, more and more just with the way new bikes are marketed, and just in general the way bikes are kind of designed these days. They're pretty much mostly seen as toys, and this is a conversation I've had with quite a lot of subscribers over the years as well, because it's obviously something that I personally would not agree with, is just using bikes as toys. And in this video I want to explain why. So if you have interest in listening to me ramble about said topic, and possibly at the end offering your own opinion on said topic, please do stick around and have a chat, because I think it could be interesting. Also, apologies for the wind noise in the last couple of on-bike videos. It turns out this HJC RPHA 11 does actually have holes in the mouth parts area that I cannot close, so they're kind of permanently open vents that just let air in, pretty much aimed directly at where I was testing the microphone out, which is why it was a little bit louder. So long-term fix is change my helmet. Short-term fix is I just reposition the microphone, so hopefully it's a little bit better today. It's also a lot less windy today, so should help, of course. But yeah, so if you are here watching this particular video, I assume it's because you, like me, like bikes. Otherwise you probably wouldn't be watching me on YouTube. So, you know, I'd be very interested, first off, like, stop right now, pause video, or you don't have to pause video, you can keep listening, and leave a comment below on whether or not you see bikes as more of a fun pastime on the weekends, or is it kind of something that's also a tool. And this is kind of something that I think has always confused people a little bit. You know, I've always talked about, you know, my dream bikes, and they're very rarely one of these. They're almost always something like a Tuono V4, Ducati Street Fighter V4, Yamaha R1, Yamaha MV10, etc, etc. Now, the reason up until this point I have never went ahead and bought one of those bikes is because at the end of the day, for me, motorcycles are also a practical tool. You know, this bike is by far the cheapest way for me to get in and out to work. It was the same in Ireland. They generally, as a rule, use less fuel. The purchase price on the bikes that I have bought is always considerably less than a car. Like, for instance, this bike, a 2015 bike with lots of modern bells and whistles and really super low mileage, cost the same pretty much as our 2004 Chevrolet Impala. Now, is that because the current market here is crazy inflated for used cars? Yes. But is it also just because bikes are historically and also modernly better value for most of what you want to do? In my opinion, yes. Now, a lot of what I say here, by the way, today is going to be my opinion, so if it's contentious, don't get angry. Just offer reasonable counterpoints or thoughts in the comments. I pride myself for this channel. It's honestly, it's a core kind of cornerstone of the channel. I try to reply to everyone and have a conversation. Have I missed comments? Yes. Will I miss comments in the future? Also yes. Are there comments that I intentionally ignore if they're rude, or, you know, otherwise words that I can't even say because YouTube will get mad at me for even saying the descriptive word of the thing these people do? Yes, I don't. If you're against people for any reason other than they're a legit bad person, if you just don't like them because of the fact of their existence, then I'm not gonna discuss that, to be honest, because most of the time I have tried to discuss it and offer reasonable, logical counterpoints. People just get very, very mad, and anger is never conducive to a good conversation. So anyway, so yeah, try to keep that in mind if you're having this conversation around this topic. So, for instance, I use this bike every single day that the weather isn't super cold here or lashing rain. It does 40 miles per gallon average, and I will be doing a commuter review on it to kind of flesh that out, but it does 40 miles per gallon average, and basically costs me $7 to $8 a day, depending on fuel prices, to get in and out to work. to counterbalance that, the only other vehicle we could afford, for me on really bad weather days, was, because we had to buy everything cash, was a 1999 Chevrolet Suburban. That usually would cost around $17 a day. So over the course of 5 years, which is the length of my visa, this will save me, if I was just to use this, now obviously we'll divide it by half, but it would save me around about $15,000 in fuel. So we'll call it $7,500 in fuel, because other things always go wrong, and you always use the car more than you expect to use the car. You know, there's lots of these things that happen, and that's absolutely fine. Now, the thing that definitely has to be borne in mind for motorcycles, are they inherently more risky to ride on the road? Yes, they are. So it kind of also depends on what intrinsic value you put on yourself. Are you completely not willing to take any form of risk at all? Then maybe commuting on motorcycles is not for you. In more sane countries where the likes of lane splitting or lane filtering is legal, motorcycles make even more sense as a time saver, because when you hit traffic, that traffic basically doesn't apply to you. You have a cheat code, you just filter on through it. And as someone who did that for years in Cork, it is also probably one of the most satisfying things you could do on a bike, is filter. Whereas over here I have heard people who are otherwise sane, reasonable people say that if I did that here, they'd open their car door on me, etc. And I'm like, that's not an okay thing to think, let alone talk about doing. Hello cows, nice to see them. So you know, there is definitely that too. Like I said, more sane countries, you can lane split / filter. I call it filtering, it's called lane splitting over here. And I would love to see that be brought in here, because it saves a lot of time. The other thing that I have always found very interesting is, as a rule, most people who commute in a car are in the car on their own. And just from you know, if people want to shout green at you, now, you know, I'm not going to do that. I will burn as much fuel as I possibly can until the day I die. Not out of spite or anything, it's just because that's what I feel like I was put on this planet to do, you know, burn fuel and have fun. Bikes are more green. They tend to, on balance, use less fuel. They take up less space on the road. They use less rubber. Yes, their tires are expensive and they wear out relatively fast, but they do use less rubber overall. You can Google facts on that if you like to. I did. I'm just not going to cite them all in a video. They use generally less oil. So, I mean, just overall, and the production costs, there's just a lot less that goes into bikes, you know, from a manufacturing process perspective. So, and I've made a video about that before, just bikes are more green as a choice. But, why does that all boil down to, like, why are bikes seen as this fun product rather than something that is a legitimate method for getting to and from work, getting to and from the shop, getting to and from the gym? And I honestly think it's a lot of marketing, for sure. As other people have pointed out, it's the average age of riders these days, for sure. And it's also the manufacturers themselves. Like, for instance, right, if you really want to get bikes uptaken more, used more, why are bikes not offered as standard with luggage more often? Because I'll be straight with you. This bike, although I do have, in my opinion, the best backpack for motorcycles ever made, the Krieg R30. It is. I have had this thing for like 7 years now, and it is still pristine. It is the single best product I have ever owned, and it was bought for me, so I didn't even have to pay for it. Toaster bought it for me. So that also was super great, as they say somewhere. Super great. Yay. Would a top box make this bike more practical? Yes. Did this helmet lock right here make this bike more practical? Yes. There's lots of little bits and pieces you can do. By the way, that bike's been for sale for a while. Somebody drive this road. If someone's interested, I'll tell you where it is, and go buy that bike. Buy the bike. Let's help someone out. Let's assume they're a nice person. Hopefully they are. If they're selling the bike to pay for funds to defend themselves because they murdered lots of orphans, then maybe don't buy the bike. You know, you shouldn't murder orphans. They have it hard enough. I don't want any grim responses to that as to why you should, okay? We're not looking to discuss that today. But honestly, I don't really have a huge amount else to say, other than, like, you should use a bike to commute. If you've gotten this far and you're still listening, you absolutely should use a bike to commute. It's just, in my opinion, motorcycles are the best way to travel. I've never felt stressed traveling on a bike. I hate traveling in cars most of the time. I just don't like it. You know, as soon as you get into traffic or whatever else, it's really hard to overtake generally. I just don't like it, you know what I mean? I can't even put it into words. I've done it for a lot of my life. I commuted a lot in cars. When I worked for my dad, I used to spend a lot of time in vans, and vans are okay. I prefer vans for whatever reason. But no, just generally, I do not like being in cars at all. I have no interest in it. I don't enjoy road trips in them really. I want to be on a bike, and it's, in my opinion, it is the best way to ride the roads, even if they're slightly more boring like these roads are. So you don't only get the saving from you know, a cost perspective in the original purchase price of your bike, and your MPG saving, and your servicing saving if you learn to do it yourself. Bikes are pretty easy to work on for the most part. Yeah, I mean, you should commute on a bike. Just buy semi-decent gear, you know what I mean? I'm not even going to say buy the best gear in the market. All the gear all the time. I'd be a hypocrite if I said that. I don't wear all the gear all the time. I wear most of the gear all of the time, and I feel like I'm relatively protective doing that. It's just, again, it comes into the practical nature of the bike. I think if I wore all the gear all the time, it would be a lot less practical for me, because I wouldn't even have somewhere to store it in my current place of work. It is what it is. It is what it is. So there are definitely options to be weighed up there, but if you're someone who cares about the environment but you can't buy an electric vehicle, buy a bike. If you're someone who, especially in America, because their cars are terrible on fuel, worry about the cost of fuel, buy a bike. If you're someone who's looking at buying a motorcycle for the first time versus a car, if the car costs 20k and you probably won't do that big of a distance just in and out to work, buy a bike. A new bike suitable for commuting. You can pick one up for less than $10,000 right now over here. In Ireland they'd be slightly more expensive, but you can still get something like the CB500X for about €10,000. You know, there's a lot of very good options out there. You don't need to buy the top of the range sports bike. And is this following on from my used motorcycles are too expensive video? It kind of is, because it spurred a lot of conversation. But new motorcycles aren't that expensive, especially when you compare them to the cost of used cars. I mean, you can buy a brand new CB500X for €10,000, say $10,000. That's going to be our use case. It has a warranty. It has 0 miles. It's brand new, so you get that new car smell, or new bike smell in this instance. And you get to do this. I am out here. I am in the air every day. I actually smell it. I can feel the breeze in my legs. You know what I mean? If it gets hotter, I feel it. If it gets cooler, I feel it. I'm not stuck inside a bloody car with aircon on and everything is the same all the time. It's just nicer. I can't explain why it's nicer. Just trust me, it's a nicer way to travel. If you have never ever ridden a motorcycle before in your life, if you take one thing from this video, give it a go. Give it a go. Especially in America, it's actually really, really easy to try them. It's something that I really wish was in Ireland, to be honest. So you can go get your learner permit, and then you can sign up and do like a motorcycle course. In North Carolina, you can do a 3-day learn to ride a motorcycle course, get your full license course. It's like $140. $140, and you get classroom time, and you get 2 days with an instructor on a closed course where you can make your mistakes and you can learn to ride a motorcycle. That is the best way to let people try it out and see is it for them, because it won't be for everyone. That's one very important thing to mention. Riding motorcycles will not be for everyone. You know, like for instance, if you see something like that, you might panic. If you aren't able to pay attention to the world around you while also knowing there's a stop sign up there. It might not be for you. But I would argue that cars probably aren't for you then, because there are there are an amount of drivers on the road, and people always say it as well, which bothers me a little bit, that, you know, oh, cars are so much easier than bikes, you don't have to pay as much attention. That is a complete load of horseshit. You absolutely have to pay as much attention. And if you're not, you need to ask yourself why you're not. Are you just a terrible, terrible car driver? You should be paying the same amount of attention. I like this corner. It's one of the only good corners around here on the way home. Oh, doubt it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you watched, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this spurs more conversation. Basically, motorcycles are not just toys. They can absolutely be a super practical way to get around. Pretty cheap way to get around, especially like I said over here. The cost of entry here is definitely less than it is in Europe, especially when you consider that good gear here is like a jacket and gloves. Most people don't wear any gear, so you'll be the messiah of ATGAT if you just wear a jacket and some gloves. Do always wear a helmet though, please, because it would be really bad if you fell even at low speed and hit your head. That is, I don't preach about gear. You can wear whatever the hell you want. You're an adult, but your skull is actually surprisingly breakable. It's like a big egg full of all that is you. So that's one thing I do say is, please do wear a helmet. Humans are very soft creatures, really, when it comes down to it. Very, very easy smush. But yeah, like I said, boils down to for me, motorcycles can be a very practical way of getting around. Do they take a little bit more fine tuning than cars and whatnot to be practical? Yes, but they also don't look like that, you know? It's a bonus, you know what I mean? And not that I don't even like the Kia Souls. I think they're actually alright looking. I would probably buy one at some point as a get around town car or commuting in terrible weather. But in general, bikes look better. I would say 95% of the time, bikes look better than most cars you can buy. And yeah, that's actually it this time. Bikes can be practical. Please do give them a go if you're considering commuting. Look at new bikes. Don't look at the expensive ones straight off the bat. Look at like the Kawasaki Versus 650. Look at the Ninja 650. Look at the V-Strom 650. Look at the V-Strom 800. There are a lot of practical bikes out there. Do with all bikes that you can still bring to the track as well. You can do everything on them that you might want to do happily and comfortably. So do give it a go. Bikes are better than cars for traveling. I cannot stress that enough. They are more gooder. And yeah, honestly, this time really is it. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, if you did make it this far, I really do appreciate it. I know I can literally ramble on a bit too long sometimes, so yeah, until next time, a very special thank you to all of my patrons. As always, you're all legends. I really do appreciate the support that you give the channel and me, both personally, physically and mentally in some cases. I do appreciate it. And yeah, until next time, adios. Outro crew. Do you commute on a motorcycle? And if not, why? Is it a fear for your safety, personal safety? Do you think bikes are actually more expensive? Are you afraid to put mileage on your bike? Let me know, because I really am interested. You know, there might be a series of videos that come from this, basically with me giving out about preconceptions about bikes and the mileage they can do, etc. Yeah, thank you, outro crew.